Thursday morning. Gave you about 4 minutes of me jamming. Thought I'd say hello and I don't know, start talking about songwriting today because we've been covering a lot of the, technical sides of this stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, have we talked about writing a song yet? I would say it's probably a good idea, right? I've had a lot of questions about how I sync the devices and how I use everything, so I think today is going to be the day that I cover. Not like how to. It's just, I'm going to kind of write some music, right? And in the example I just did now, I was showing sync. I've had some people ask how I have everything synced up in the way that I play music. And the real basics of this is that I'm using USB for the OPXY. I'm using USB for the RD8. And on the other side of the studio, I'm using MIDI from my sound card. Right? So the MIDI that's going on in the studio, at least on the side for the channel, these two are USB MIDI. And this is just running audio. So like when I want to just play one of my instruments, this one doesn't have to be like attached to time because I'm just free playing it over the music, right? Now, a lot of times in Ableton, I'm catching the audio as clips, and I could do like looping, I can do edits and cuts and stuff like that later. So what happens is everything is on the MIDI clock, right? And you'll see me hit spacebar here, right? And both devices start, and then I start making decisions based on how I'm gonna write my song, right? So, excuse me. If I did new here, and I'm gonna rename it because I gotta name it everything. Excuse me. And we're just gonna call it. I always just make up weird names. I'm gonna call this one Fence. I have no idea why, and we'll call it Fence 2. All right. So, first of all, name something. Same thing here. I go to a brand new blank project, right, with nothing on it. And then I really pick my tempo and genre first. So like the very first thing, and I've done this in my streams with Ableton before in Move. How are you going to get anything done, right, if you don't pick like tempo, if you don't pick a genre, right? So sorry, I'm throwing stuff around. Trying to find a marker. So if I pick drum and bass, for example, this time, right? And then I pick 160 BPM, right? That already helps me know what kind of beat I'm going to make, right? So quickly, set my notepad aside, pick 160 as my tempo, and now I hit play, right? So both my clocks start running, and I make sure on the OPXY I keep the click track off because it drives me nuts, right? And I quickly unmute all my drums, and I start writing a part. Now I pick the open hi-hat, not as a joke, but basically as I write length, I'm going to pick 4 bars. So that makes this, and I can scroll between pages. And I use this as my hi-hat. So I quickly or as my metronome. So I'm like, right. And you guys can faintly hear my hi-hat. And then over on this sequencer, I'll do the same thing. Like I'll pick a sound. Got a kick drum. And quickly, this one is just running in 1 bar, just so everybody knows what's kind of happening, right? So for me, the quickness of picking that is the very, very first part. It's kind of like essential. Pick a genre, get ready. Now, in the key signature world, you guys know my favorite's E flat major. So I always tell people you can pick your favorite key. And if I did that, it would just be E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. And then I write my numeral. All right, so we're writing the song. Got it written out. This is E flat major. And from here, it's going to get more interesting, right? Because that's what we do. We start picking our chords. And here we go with the progression that I'm going to start picking. So I go over here and I pick a keyboard. And we're going to say keys. Real nice, easy sound. I'm going to divide this by 4, so it's 4 bars long. 1, 2, 3. I just pick 2 chords. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, over here, I can start picking my next. So super easy again. I'm picking my patterns, and then the bass line, of course, is going to be next, right? And again, cut that in, and I'll restart my clock. So restarting the clock does another thing. It resets everything, so everybody knows that, right? Yeah. Now we know where we're at. I'm hit record. My first chord is C minor. My second chord is G minor. Super easy, right? So here we go. We got a bass line too. Sometimes I get a little more intricate with my hi-hat now. And I can always change like the pitch of that too. So remember, if you hold down, you have ways of volume. And that's like my first scene. So from here is typically where I'm like, okay, intro, maybe my first scene. And committing to this is sometimes the hardest part, right? And when I say commit, I mean actually hit record, right? So we know we're in scene number 1, right? And I can copy things to make a second scene, or I can mute things, you know, if I wanted to do that. But let's write another part, right? So I got another clip here, right? And I'll pause for a second. So again, these are like clips. I got 4 parts written over here, and secretly I have 1, 2, 3 parts written on this side. So as I bounce back and forth, I'm actually writing parts on 2 instruments at the same time. Now, I do save periodically. So I'm like, save. I come over here, and I'm like, save, pattern, save. So I'll save on my devices so I know. And I got something loaded over here for when I want to jam over it. So let's see what's happening. We got 160 BPM drum and bass, and we're doing it in E flat major. right, now the key here is divide by 8, right? So I'm going to take this and divide. It's going to be a long time of playing this, right? 2, 3, 4. And this is important for things sounding interesting. If you go a little bit longer, so here we go. Played a part, and when I play that part, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to automate that synthesizer. So, record. Very similar to trig lock on Electron. You'll see the lights changing. Now, this is stepped. If I hit shift, smooth. So I smoothed out the recording. And now I'm going to write my ride cymbal part over here. So I can just tap, hit record, ready? So in real time. I wrote my chorus, right? Now, if we were live performing, the other thing to point out, and I do this a lot, is you got mutes, right? So even over here, and if we were recording a track, you would want to mute out to make your breaks, right? Your parts, because we're making a drum and bass song, right? So the idea to keep that continual flow, this works a lot like Electron, where I don't have to stop and I can jump between my parts by just pushing scenes or pressing mutes. Right? We got a big break now. And honestly, I would write like toms right now or something. I would be like... So I'm writing my tom-tom part. Really quickly, now we're making our next part of the progression. So I'm going to do like a polysynth next, and I'm going to go right back into what we were doing. So let's see, that'd be this channel is our strings. Right, and I'm also going to add a snare drum on this side, you know. Yeah, there we go. So again, got a string loaded. I think I'm going to go an octave higher, right? And remember, if we want to elongate the bar, you hold down shift and you do 8. That's going to be a very long, and I'm going to reset the clock. So if anybody wonders, I reset the clock so that when I play, I start with the 1 and I drag everything the right way on the 1. So I'm going to live record, and this is my strings. And I'll edit the strings in a minute, but here we go. We're going to take our idea and we're going to go to record the next part. So I did my strings. Alright, so already I have 6 of the 7 parts written. Now quickly here, we could do 2 other parts. I can do that for a little bit later. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to make new parts here. But inside of this, the idea is that we got to make a couple different scenes is what they're called. So the first scene, oh, excuse me, I want it to be the muted, everything, no strings. So it's going to start with everything muted, right? And then on the second scene, you'll notice everything's going to come in. 2, 3, 4. Right? So when you're writing a song, you know, this is how you write your parts, right? All right. Now, when I want to do some kind of like violently crazy change, and this is going to be hysterical, I'll do Shift 3. I'll make all new clips, okay? Because this is a completely new scene to me, and I don't want anything residual from the old stuff. So I'm going to make everything brand new. And now I'm going to work on a track that I haven't even, let's, you know, we're going to pick a lead over here. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? And this next breakdown is going to be not tied to any of the music that we did before. Now, this is a leap for some students when I'm teaching classes for like Ableton and stuff. And they're like, you literally, I'm going to get a drink, I'm sorry. I clear everything. I keep the beat because that's going to make me feel similar, right? And I know that I was doing that, right? I'm going to turn on my arpeggiator. I'm going to make it drum and bass funky fast, right? And let's see what starts happening if I do a pattern with an arpeggio over 8 bars. So let's see what happens. 1, 2, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. Right? And now we know we're working on a new part, and I'm going to make a new drum part now over here. Remember our beat, it's that kind of fun drum and bass, right? So like I said, I'm working on like, this is the same song, right? And remember, I have this clip that I didn't play before. That's that steam thing. I'm gonna change this to something I like, sorry. So. Do some percussive like marimba stuff. Ready? Divide by 8. Reset my clock. Again, a very key part in writing music is knowing where the 1 is in the beat. So I always keep restarting stuff so that I'm paying attention to the 1, so that my OPXY and the sequencer here are both in respect to each other with the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's see what happens next. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. This change is going to be super cool too. It's going to be fun. And remember, if we want to change the whole song, all we got to do is do Shift 1. 5, 4, 3, 2. Second part. Here we go. Make it funky. Play with the tape reel. See how we're making breakdowns? The tape reel's catching the audio. That's how I do my breakdowns, right? Trigger lock. It's almost like trigger lock catches, right? Alright, I'm gonna stop there for a second, alright? Everybody's catching the breakdowns, right? So in this world, when you do a breakdown, I'm gonna turn this off. It is a catch. It's a step catch. So I can do cheesy stuff like that, right? And then over here, the catch, that's like a third of the tape I'm just like scrubbing on, right? So when you bring that together, make like the dumbest stuff, right? But I do like these as well. See how it changes the sound for a second? It's like sound replacement. And then we're gonna go back to that other part. Ready? 5, 4, 3, and... All right, so I think everybody's kind of getting the gist of like how I songwrite. This is kind of the trick in some of the techno I write, and I would say I lean on things like the catcher inside the RD8. I lean on things like the step effects. I lean on the tape reel because it catches things. Now I haven't played live over everything yet, but the idea that you're bringing all your music together, that you pick a genre and a key first, and you guys saw me do that, and the idea that once you kind of pick that, it helps navigate what you're going to write. And I say, a lot of people sit in the studio and they're like, man, I feel so clueless. Like I sit down and I have all this gear and then I can't write. I'm like the deer in the headlights. And I think the way to get out of that and get out of writer's block is to kind of force yourself into like, I'm going to write this genre. This is what I'm going to work on, right? And I would say, maybe use this as a springboard to write a song of your own. Try to write in maybe the same key, the same tempo, the same genre as me, and then take that and try to maybe write it a little different than I did, right? So I'm going to stop there today and kind of just, hopefully everybody got a good sense of how I'm songwriting on the Teenage Engineering OPXY, songwriting on a RD8 with it, and then just like combining different patterns and showing everybody how I do the scenes, right? And that's how I was making the changes. I wrote 3 scenes. One of them was super basic. It's my intro. The next scene's the song. Third part was my strange breakdown, right? That's it. That's your A-B section, right? All right. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. This is Joseph. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to the videos. Check out the channel. Look at some of the other videos. Hopefully you're getting inspired to write music. Leave me some comments if you want to see some other things made or other things written. And remember, I'm always there if you need to reach out and ask for any help. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your Thursday.